Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are in the world, wherever you're tuning in from. Here in Germany, it's 5:15. Let me know in the live chat where you are tuning in from, and also let me know what you thought of today's women's semi. Women's semi? By the way, you should count how long it is before I make a mistake. So far, I think I got to 20 seconds before I made my first mistake, but I'm sure it won't be the last. So yeah, here in Germany, it's just gone 5:15. Let me know where you are tuning in from. And like I said, let me know what you thought of today's women's final. Also, give me some thoughts on the men's final, which will obviously be taking place tomorrow, as it is here at the moment in Germany. We'll be doing a little bit of a preview on that as well, but the most part, we'll be talking about the women's final. Let me know your thoughts on that. Hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you are new. And we now have the option of joining the channel as a member. You can click join on the link below and you will get a few little perks, bonuses, and benefits, such as the opportunity to use emojis in the live chat, but also potentially exclusive footage for your members only. Anyway, women's final. Wow, wow, wow. It lived up to the hype and the expectations. Sometimes these events don't, but this one undoubtedly did. Won in 3 sets by Aryna Sabalenka. She wins her first Grand Slam title. I've got little goose pimples as I say it because she's been knocking at the door for a few years now, winning Masters 1000s, getting to Grand Slam semifinals such as Wimbledon, such as the US Open in the past, but not being able to go over that line, so to speak, twice at the US Open, I believe. But finally, she did so today. But boy, was she made to work for it by Elena Rybakina. And boy, did on occasions she make things a little bit difficult for herself in that final game. Regarding the final as a whole, and then I'll go through it bit by bit, for me, it's the best final on the women's side we've had for a couple of years, at least since the French Open of 2021, in my opinion, the final between Pavlyuchenkova and Krejčíková. And arguably, in terms of quality, we'd probably even have to go back to maybe even the US Open final of 2020, perhaps between Osaka and Azarenka, but definitely it beats hands down any final that we had last year. We only had one 3-set final last year, and that was at Wimbledon, and I think it was a good final and probably the best final of last year, but this one was the tops, the absolute tops. It had quality. It had twists and turns and drama, and it had also the story of one of the two players never having won a Grand Slam before, and you never know whether the opportunity is going to arise again. You just don't know. And I do think, had she not won it, especially trying to serve for it, this could have become a thing. Now she's got one, by the way. Now she's got a slam title, Aryna Sabalenka. To be honest with you, the sky's the limit. She could go on and win 2, 3, 4, or 5. And I think now it could be just one of those situations of breaking through the barrier. I remember, and I'm going off at a tangent here, I remember Michael Schumacher knocking at the door for Ferrari year after year after year. And it was so tantalizingly close. And so many times, there'd be mistakes from Michael. There would be mistakes from the team. There'd be incidents going on. And it just wasn't happening for one reason or another. Once they went through the barrier, oh boy, it became 5 years, 6 years of domination. I'm not predicting the same for Aryna Sabalenka, but I do think now she's got through it, she may well go on to win many more. Had she not won one, I think she could well have finished on 0 had she not won today. For example, I can see some comments in the live chat. Brian, great to see you on board. I will address these at the end. So I'll just put this little thing up there for you anyway. But I will address some of these points alone. By the way, James, nice to see you as well. Hit that like button. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe. And feel free, by the way, to send in a super chat to help support the channel. Listen, let's get some tweets up on the screen for you to give you a little bit of a flavor as to some of the things that went down today. I love this response here from Aryna. She sent the first tweet she sent in about 2 or 3 weeks. And by the way, she's on an unbeaten streak now of, I believe, 11 matches, having won 4 in Adelaide and now 7 in Australia. 7 at Melbourne, both being in Australia. I do know my geography. So she had so many congratulatory tweets from Coco Gauff, from Pam Shriver, I know. We've got one here from Rod Laver as well. Bianca Andreescu here saying, well deserved. And now, by the way, I guess no sugar helped. So I guess that she was probably on a little bit of a diet during the tournament to cut out sugar. And boy, did she reap the rewards today. And we can see it here. And she says, by the way, now I'm going to make up for it. So I said that obviously she had plenty of people congratulating her, such as Rod Laver, Pam Shriver. By the way, her coach in tears. How emotional was that? Because as this tweet here from Gaspar says, there was a moment, this is quoting Sabalenka, there was a moment last year when he said, her coach, I think I'm done. I can't give you anything else. And Sabalenka told her coach, no, it's not you. We just have to work through these tough moments and we'll come back stronger. And of course, what she's referring to, what they're both referring to, is a year ago, the yips. We saw it on the double faults. Double fault after double fault after double fault, easily reaching double figures for most of her matches. And that was happening in Australia. Adelaide was horrible. Australian Open, Melbourne wasn't much better. But boy, oh boy, has she come back. I remember after her match with Pliskova at the US Open, there'd been a lot of progress since the Australian Open, getting as far as the semifinals in New York, for example. And after her quarterfinal win over Pliskova, she did say, I've been with a biomechanics coach. We've changed a few things. Mentally, she felt much better. And since that US Open run, I would even say the turning point for Sabalenka was during that tournament when she was facing match points, a double breakdown as well to Kai Kanepi. She won that match incredibly, including a net cord. She gets to the semi-final. She puts in a really good tournament, in my opinion. Doesn't quite work for her there. She has a great WTA finals in Fort Worth, beating Iga Swiatek on the way to getting the final. She continued that form into the new year. Why I predicted her to win this tournament. I did have 1 or 2 last-minute doubts this morning, though, as she was going into that final. And I thought maybe Rybakina's nerve will hold. And after Rybakina won the first set, I started to doubt even more, but boy, did she come back and prove both herself and many of the other doubters wrong. Congratulations here from Billie Jean King as well. There's a nice image of Billie there in between the 2 finalists and their trophies. Okay, let's talk about the match. So, first game, by the way, the first game of the match. What Aryna Sabalenka serving, double fault, ace, backhand winner. That was the first 3 points. And I think I wrote in the live chat on the channel, so on brand. Because those are the 3 things. And by the way, it kind of continued today. She double faulted 5 times in that first set. Probably because she was taking a risk on the second serve rather than because of any anxiety. But still, as her fans must have been having kittens. And I'm sure that continued throughout the match. But she was taking a risk on the second serve, and I think she ultimately paid, the positive reward for that. She reaped the positive reward for that. But what a backhand day it was for Aryna Sabalenka and winners in general. 51 winners from her racket today. Unbelievable. And for that reason alone, she deserves the title. By the way, I watched Gil Gross earlier on today. He said it's the game, by the way, where... Okay, I'll get to Gil Gross's comment in a second, because that's about the third set. First set, Rybakina strikes first with a break. Sabalenka breaks back. Rybakina breaks again, takes the first set. Rybakina looking solid. Maybe a little bit of shakiness from Sabalenka. And you're starting to think, maybe today is not going to be Aryna's day. But Aryna fought back. This is a different Sabalenka to the one from 12 months ago. She fights back. She wins the second set. And then in the third set, at 3 games all. And she was knocking on the door. It was Sabalenka who was knocking at the door in that third set, by the way. So, fully deserved. And the return game at 3 all, Gil Gross said today, it's one of the greatest return games he has ever seen. Hats off. I mean, there wasn't much Rybakina could do. Then, the final game. That final game, ladies and gentlemen. Boy, oh boy. So, what do I mean? 4 championship points. Ghosty there. Sorry, just seeing your comment. Yeah, everyone, by the way, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you are new. I will be addressing all of the comments I can see in the live chat very shortly. So keep pumping them in, asking questions. Give me your thoughts on today's women's final, but also tomorrow's men's singles final as well. I will be addressing that shortly. So the final game for the match. Sabalenka, she's serving for it at 5-3, I think it was. 5-4. She's serving for it. And of course, on her first championship point, you know what's going to happen. I don't even need to tell you. Even if you didn't watch the match, you know she double faults. And it's back to deuce. So I think it was 40-30, and she double faults at that point. Double fault. She then ekes out 2 more championship points. Doesn't take advantage. And by the way, this is the 4th time that these 2 players have met, and each match has gone to 3 sets. Each match was tight in the 3rd set. This time, however, and the 4th time of asking, including a break point for Rybakina, Sabalenka held her nerve, winning the final set 6-4. Ironically, that is the scoreline that she lost each and every one of her 3rd sets in the Grand Slam semifinals I touched on before. She'd lost 3 out of 3 coming into this tournament. 4th time of asking, she's into the final. 4th match between these 2. And 4th time of asking on championship point, Aryna Sabalenka does it. Over the line. Now she can go on and perhaps have a marvelous year. As I say, she's 11 unbeaten. I wouldn't be surprised if she goes into her next tournament feeling amazing. Because there's 2 things that can happen, by the way, to Aryna Sabalenka. One, she relaxes, she gets complacent, the success is enough for her. But I don't think that's her character, which is why I see her going on to having a marvelous, marvelous 2023 and probably a marvelous career. And I think she will become a multiple slam winner. Also, across all surfaces, she's capable on grass and on clay, which adds to the suggestion that she is going to have a stellar, stellar, stellar career. And I don't mean stellar in terms of the beer, nor McCartney, the designer. I mean stellar with an A-R. By the way, she enjoyed a glass of wine in the press conference. She was giggling and she said, "Shall I drink more?" And I think she suggested that the journalists were enjoying it. But listen, it's time for her to enjoy and savor the moment. Like I said, I will come to your comments in the live chat at the end. So just some of the stats from today, 17 aces. But look, the main one was 51 winners here. And Rybakina 31, by the way, but 51 winners. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. And by the way, Rybakina, solid. Again, I say again, I think in the semifinals she had just 2 double faults and today just 1. And yet she's an excellent, excellent spot server with plenty of pace as well. So hats off to her. Great performance. I'm sure we'll be seeing her in a Grand Slam final again soon. But today was the day for Aryna Sabalenka. Okay, let's come to the live chat now, actually, because I want to talk about the women's. I want to come to the sort of conclusion of the women's section, and then I'll go on to the men's. So probably it's a good idea to have a look at some of your points here. Brian there saying Sabadabadoo, pretty much. Oh, I'm interpreting it, if you like. I completely agree on the quality, James says. Beats the Wimbledon's final of hands down. Exactly. For me, it's the best Grand Slam final for at least 2 years, arguably longer. I think that Krejčíková-Pavlyuchenkova was extremely exciting, but I think the quality today was even higher than that French Open. So I'd say probably 3 years, maybe more. Maybe going back to maybe even the US Open of 2019, 2020, one of those 2 US Open finals perhaps. Okay. What else here from Brian? If Saba's serve is a non-issue, then she'll take over and may well become number 1. I completely agree. Ghosty, nice to have you on board, by the way, once again. It's weird to have a slam champ who just accepts a certain number of double faults. Maybe, but that's just how it is. With her today, taking a risk on the second serve, it's just one of those prices that she's happy to pay, if you like. I don't think the double fault thing will completely go for her, but also I see other people. Take Zverev, for example, on the men's side. Sometimes he's not double faulting, but that second serve is so tame that the returners such as Djokovic and Nadal are eating it up for breakfast. I remember Taylor Fritz as well at Wimbledon last year against Rafa. Second serve, nerves. So instead of doing a double fault or taking a risk, it was just going in lamely. Rafa eating up for breakfast. Boom. Okay. I was taught it should be 0. Well, like I say, I think Aryna's proven that. Aryna, sorry, has proven that wrong today. Okay. Knock, knock, Saba at the door. This is the second final for Rybakina. Is this an indicator that she too is on the frontal edge of a bunch of wins like Sabalenka? I think for her, for Aryna, the only thing I would say with her is I don't think she moves quite as well as Aryna, but on top of that, I also think grass is probably where we might see Rybakina perform her best and have her best results in her career. I think her game probably does suit the grass, and we saw how much better she was than most opponents last year on the grass. I don't think she has that same margin, and I would suggest on the clay, but even on a hard court, there'll be too many competitors, I think, that may well end up meaning that actually it's Wimbledon where she won't have a period of. I see Rybakina, I see Sabalenka far more likely to stamp her authority on the game in an ego-esque way because of her ability across multiple surfaces. Queen Saba, indeed. Gary there as well. I cannot remember the last time I was so happy. I felt the same. Nothing against Rybakina, but it was a case of Rybakina's got a slam, Sabalenka hasn't. Rybakina could have got a second one today, and you might say, yeah, but Sabalenka will be back. No guarantees in this sport. How many times have we seen Novak and Rafa and Roger and Serena as well turn around, congratulate their opponent, saying, don't worry, I'm sure you'll be back one day and you'll win many more slams? Might not happen, ladies and gentlemen. Often it doesn't. And in a way, I'm reminded right now of Jana Novotná in 93. When she was up a double break on Steffi Graf. She had one hand on the Wimbledon plate, if you like, but she wasn't able to grasp it. Now, fortunately, she did come back 5 years later and get the title. But sometimes that doesn't happen. Okay, there's a talent gap between the two players, and to me it was evident in this match. Better ground strokes and much better second serve. Yeah, I just think you're right that there is just a slight advantage for Sabalenka, but the tears at the end, ghosty indeed. Okay, I'm going to do a brief preview for tomorrow's men's final now, so get your thoughts in the live chat on that. I will be addressing them at the end of the show. But now, time for a quick look towards tomorrow's men's final between these two individuals. You got it. Novak Djokovic and Stefanos Tsitsipas. I hope you like the image, ladies and gentlemen. It made me giggle, at least. So, what do I think about this? Well, if the head-to-head, first of all, 10-2 in Novak's favor, including several in a row. Equally, many of them coming on a hard court as well recently. I think there were 3 in quick succession last year on a hard court, 2 of which were comfortably won by Novak. Stefanos, of course, will be grabbing a little bit, at least, at that Paris-Bercy semi-final that they had, where really probably Tsitsipas should have won it. He was up in the tie break, and that volley at the net just wasn't good enough. So here's the 10-2. I'll bring this up as well so we can have a quick look at this. Djokovic in 3 is what James is saying. Like I say, get your thoughts in the live chat regarding that match tomorrow, and I'll address them at the end. What do I think? Listen, it's a tall order for Steph, and it's a tall order for many, many reasons. We all know Novak's record down under. He's going for a 10th crown. We can all see the head-to-head here as well, heavily favoring Novak. But I'm also reminded of something that Tommy Paul said in his press conference yesterday after the defeat. Some people, I remember seeing Craig O'Shaughnessy on Twitter, a little bit critical of Tommy Paul, saying, why doesn't he serve and volley? Why doesn't he mix things up a bit? Drop shots, come to the net, etc., etc., etc. And Tommy Paul kind of answered that. I don't know if he was addressing Craig in particular, but he was just like, I just couldn't. I just never got in a position in points, in rallies, where I had the chance of coming into the net. serving and volleying. And that's, of course, a tactic that you might want to use, that you might want to mix up against Novak. Stefanos doesn't have that in his locker. So let's say Stefanos loses the first set. Quite possible. Novak gets off to a faster start. He's more comfortable in these surroundings. Grand Slam final number 32, I think it is, etc., etc., etc. Grand Slam final number 2 for Stefanos. What does Stefanos do to change things? There's not much he can do. He's just got to bring his A game and hope it's going to be enough. And it might be, ladies and gentlemen. If Novak plays like he did in the first set against Tommy Paul, and Stefanos plays like he did in the first 2.5 sets against Khachanov, I see it being a really, really interesting final that could go 4, could go 5. But you might have noticed there's a few variables there. And like I say, one of them is that I just don't see Stefanos being able to mix things up enough in the way that other players on tour can reverse a trend like this. Players like Rublev can't. Players like Rune can cause Novak a problem. Players such as, certainly on clay anyway, such as Rafa or even Kyrgios, for example, on grass or on a hard court, they can pose a problem for Novak. Stefanos on a hard court, much less. And I just don't see him being able to randomly mix things up if things start to go wrong, because they often can go wrong. We saw against Andrei Rublev. Rublev just didn't know what to do. What else can Andrei do than sort of play the same game that he plays? But that is breakfast, lunch, and dinner for Novak. But like I say, if Novak plays like he did in the first set yesterday, or even at times against Rublev, I thought Rublev had to bring his A game and hope that Novak had an off day. Novak kind of did have an off day, but Rublev brought his C game. Tommy Paul, again, very similarly, had to maintain a level which he had from 5-1 to 5-all, by the way, but he wasn't able to maintain that level. And as a result, Novak ran away with things. So let me know your thoughts on the match tomorrow in the live chat. Let me know your thoughts on what's going on here. You mean Stefanos plays the first set like in Rome? You mean Stefanos plays like the first? No, I don't know. I mean like he did against Khachanov So Stefanos plays like he did for the first 2.5 sets, like he did against Khachanov in the semi-finals. Then he has a chance, especially if Novak plays like he did in the first set. What the other final problem, though, that Stefanos is going to find that even if that does happen and Stefanos wins the first set, there's still no guarantees. I think Stefanos probably needs to be up 2 sets and a break before I start believing he might do it. And by the way, even then, as we saw against Khachanov, Stefanos sees the finish line, gets a bit tight. We remember that smash he had against Khachanov, which was horrible because he was so tight. We saw how tight he was in the tiebreak when he was up with 2 match points, of how he was just gingerly getting the ball in, but it wasn't enough. And Khachanov fed off it. And listen, Djokovic is a vulture. If he senses any anxiety from Stefanos, he will be taking it. Therefore, I'm going for Stefanos to maybe get a set, maybe the first set, but Novak will prevail. Okay, I'm going to come to some of your comments in the live chat regarding the match. Before I go lol to the Zoolander. It's hilarious. Great. Ghosty, I know you're not watching now, but maybe you'll watch this retrospectively. Get in the comments, by the way, below. If you're watching this in a few hours, or even in a few minutes, because we're going to be bringing this show to a close, get in the comments.
Ready? Play.
good afternoon, good evening, good morning, whatever time it is in the world, wherever you are tuning in from. We are here, of course, to talk about nothing less than the quarterfinal between Barbora, Krejčíková, and Aryna Sabalenka, which is now getting underway. In fact, they have just started with Krejčíková at the moment, at least, looking pretty comfortable in her service game. As you can see, she's 40 love up, so she has 3 game points. Let's see if she can indeed hold serve. That reminds me. Okay, cool. Yeah, so 40 love up already, 40-15. Sabalenka wins the next point. I'm just tuning in myself now. A little bit delayed. Obviously, it's been a pretty long day already. And we're only at quarterfinal 3. Hey, Terry. Cool. There we go. 40-30, by the way. So it's not done yet, this particular service game. Do let me know your thoughts on the previous semi-finals that we have seen so far today, including a 4-set win for Novak Djokovic against Taylor Fritz. And the mega mammoth 3-setter between Coco Gauff, which saw the American prevailing over Marta Kostyuk. Barbora Krejčíková does indeed hold serve for 1 love. And let me know your thoughts on this particular encounter. Is Sabalenka going to prevail and set up that repeat of the US Open final? But this time, of course, it will be a semi-final against Coco Gauff. Or not. In fact, let's have a quick look. I think I've posted a poll on the YouTube channel to see what your thoughts are on this particular one. 67% going for, yeah, that sounds about right. I would have this at about 70-30, more or less. That makes sense to me. Do hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you are new. And let me know your predictions in the live chat. Is Sabalenka, we have a little image there on the left-hand side that you can see regarding some of her semi-final issues that she's had in the past, but also, of course, the final against Coco Gauff a couple of years ago. Is Sabalenka going to retain her crown? Interesting to know, actually. Women to retain the Australian Open. Let's have a quick look. Feels like it's been a few years, but I don't think Osaka won it twice, but I don't think she won it back-to-back, did she? Let's have a quick look. List of women's champions. So, the last woman to retain her title was Victoria Azarenka in 2013. So, make of that what you will. History might be on the opponents of Sabalenka's side. In terms of fatigue, I must say I wouldn't mind a couple of straight sets wins today, but we'll see how this pans out. Sabalenka's held for one game all, by the way. Damien's going to be joining us shortly, so that's good news. When I get older, you will surprise me and wave the flag. Okay, so one game all here, and we are love 15 on the Krejčíková serve. So little tiny amount of pressure for the Czech. Going to share that poll once more. It's narrowing a little, 62-38. That feels maybe a bit harsh on Sabalenka, especially as she's getting a bit more of a sniff now on the Krejčíková serve at 15-30 here. Pretty hot day in Melbourne. Novak Djokovic into his 11th Australian Open semi-final, and he's won all of his previous 10. He will face a first-time Australian Open semi-finalist, whether that be in the shape of Jannik Sinner or Andrei Rublev. We'll have that live on the channel for you shortly. And do we have a couple of break points? We do indeed, after Barbora. Krejčíková goes long on that volley. So, Krejčíková to serve, 15-40, first break points of the match. Goes out wide, but actually goes wide with that first serve. Hit the like button, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you are new. Decent return there from Sabalenka. She's in charge of the point, and she's won it, and she's broken serve, and she leads 2-1 with a break. Let's take a quick break, and we'll be back with you shortly. There were some Australian Open final vibes for me today, and I was looking at a couple of comparisons. Australia was 2 hours 28 minutes, today was 2:26. I'm sure you weren't aware of that. But I tell you, 4 championship points, does that sound familiar? And were you thinking of it during that last game?
Actually, yes, I was thinking when I was down with the break in the last game, I was thinking, okay, I did it at the Australia Open, so probably I'll be able to get this win this time again, and it's actually helped me to stay focused and to have this belief in myself. And yeah, definitely this match reminds a lot of Australia Open match.
An Australian Open final, of course, is one that she won last year. She seeks to retain her title. En route, she may have to face Coco Gauff, who won earlier in 3 sets over Marta Kostyuk. It was over 3 hours, that match. Maybe if Sabalenka gets the job done pretty quickly, that may help her. Although I would say the 48 hours break for the players that play today will end up being a smaller, should be okay, therefore, despite the fact that Coco was pushed to 3 sets by Marta Kostyuk. Sabalenka here just composing herself as she gets ready to serve at 2-1. Barbora ready to receive. And it's an ace from Aryna Sabalenka. Do, 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 do. Backhand down the line from Aryna, and it's now 30-love. Into the net on the first serve. Second serve, Aryna Sabalenka to the backhand of Krejčíková. Not too much depth on it, but Aryna errs and puts a forehand into the net. Sabalenka serve. Where are you going with this one? Down the tee. Decent defensive return there on the sort of squash shot that maybe Krejčíková is most well known for on the entire women's tour, I would argue. But she puts that backhand into the net, and it is 40-15. Quick look there at the Sabalenka box. We can see friend of the show there, the data analyst for Sabalenka, Shane Leonage. Down the tee from Aryna. Forehand from Aryna is a winner. 3-1. Okay, so Krejčíková to serve at 1-3. Oh, hello.
Hello. I guess we need to move this. No, not like that.
Look at
How
you.
did you-
Look at
Which
I
one?
didn't know you could do all this, Damien. Go on, you keep going. I don't
Keep
mind.
going. This one?
That's
maybe this one.
I like the other one. Go back.
There? Okay, the previous
The
one.
other one. Can you go back?
Yeah.
There you go.
This one? Okay.
I like that one just because of if it wasn't for the third camera that we have, then I would be fine with being on the side. But that third camera looks good there in the middle, I think.
Hi, Gene. There's something really funny that I never really said anything about, but like literally every single time you write my name, it's always misspelled in the same way. It's literally always like this.
Oh, does he
Damayan
often
or
say? Yeah, but I think that's a typo because he's a native speaker and he knows IAN, I think. And I know it. Maybe he's got a problem with the A's and the I's on his keyboard. I don't know.
maybe if you're doing this on your phone, you always just write it in a certain way, and then it just suggests it to you or like corrects you even. I remember always when I was tweeting out of my phone, I would say Korpiva instead of Kopriva. And yeah, if I was doing it on my phone, that would happen. If I was on my keyboard on the laptop, of course no, because then I would see it. But my phone would suggest it. Yeah, the phone, as I thought. So we probably misspelled it once, and then every single time it's like that. But I just find it pretty funny. Of course, no, I don't take any offense. Don't worry.
And I don't take any offense by the fact that he's going, "Where's your face?" It's because I'm often doing this at the moment with my particular commentary position.
Commentary position.
Commentary position. It sounds a bit too highbrow. Yeah, true.
Okay, let me find that stream because I actually haven't turned it on yet. I saw that my favorite player is doing okay. Oh, but we're doing it together, so actually we'll do that Eurosport one. It's a little behind you, but like definitely closer than the one I'm usually using. So
definitely, yeah. So you think you're going to be behind me? Do you?
Yes, a touch.
Okay.
You were closer to Vansh than I was to you.
Oh.
Although yours seemed to maybe change from time to time. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it did. It does change. Yeah, it does. I mean, I've just put it to the absolute maximum. So it sort of tells me that I'm as close as I can be to what Eurosport is capable of. But sometimes it sort of freezes and stuff and blah, blah, blah. Not crazily freezing as in like it disrupts my viewing experience. But what happens is over the course of a set, it does go a few seconds back.
All right, I'm on the stream now then.
When I get older, you will be down to raise your flag. Gene, you'll know this song I'm singing, I hope. It's from South Africa.
Interestingly, when you said "when I get older," I thought you were going to start singing "When I'm 64" by the Beatles, because this is literally the opening line. But
when I'm 64.
Waving flag I'm familiar with as well, but yeah. I guess it was like the World Cup, right?
Yep, 2010.
Yeah. So I guess that World Cup got at least a couple of very famous songs then.
What was the other one? There was another
Waka
one.
Waka.
Right. Oh, yeah, right. Ah, yeah. In fact, that one was far more famous, yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
A break point here for Sabalenka. Looks like there's an insect on the court. I find that the ball kids, because of the role that the ball kids have, let's say, they're far more braver with these insects than they would normally be. They're kind of just panicking and they want the whole situation to get over and done with, irrespective of the consequences. Whereas I think in the normal situation, if they saw it in their house, they'd be finding a piece of paper and tissue and all sorts to get rid of it and shooing it away. But because of authority and human beings,
they're stepping up to the challenge. It's probably not something that they're going to be learning at the training, right? Like, not really.
There's been
three in Australia, maybe.
There's been 3 umpire moments in this tournament of various interest. One was John Blom when he sort of was laughing at or smiling and giggling at a ball kid's attempts, and Sabalenka breaks for 4-1, by the way, at a ball kid's attempts to fix the issue of the. I'm going to say it was a cockroach, but something similar. Then there was another one where the umpire was giggling at just how long that tiebreak was going between Blinkova and Rybakina. And then today there was a shot, I think maybe it was in the Coco Gauff match, where the umpire gave a nod of approval. Like it just landed on the line. It was like, yep, nod of approval. Kirit here suggesting that Sabalenka is dialed in. I would agree.
I feel like it would be very hard if I was an umpire for me to stop, nodding or like reacting to shots in any way. But there's also one that you forgot about, or that was actually during the qualifying, but Mariana Veljovic forgetting that it was a 10-point tiebreak is probably deserves a mention as well.
The umpire did.
Yeah, and that was a big mess. And I think she's very lucky that eventually the winner was the same, because otherwise, like, this was, I don't know, like he could sue her or the ATP, the ITF, I guess, in this case.
Oh, we're seeing the
Not
insect
ATP.
close up.
Yeah.
That looks like a beast. I would not want to touch that. It does look a bit drunk, the way it's walking, though. Probably wanting to get out of the way of a potential Sabalenka bazooka. Gene, yeah. Funny enough, I was just playing as this match began. I was playing the Australian Open women's final. What was the equivalent of Last Ball Drops a year ago? Although I called it the 20 minutes, and it was just a monologue of me talking. But I said in the wake of that final that Sabalenka was going to go on to win more Grand Slam titles. Of course, she hasn't done so since. But I also said she was going to go on to have a stellar 2023, which I think she did.
Yeah.
Whether it's Australian Open that I mean, okay, Gene, I don't know if you saw a poll that I'd put out recently, which was who will win more Grand Slam titles, Sabalenka or Medvedev, and it was about 70-30 in favor of Sabalenka, which sounds about right to me. Maybe even for me, it's even more likely.
It's stronger for Sabalenka, I think. Yeah. Just because she's like one of the best in the sport, whereas Medvedev seems like a distant fourth best at the moment, and Sabalenka might be, it might be at the top for 3 out of 4 slams currently. So yeah, I think she's got a better chance.
Oh,
which
so
a few years ago I would have said Medvedev for sure, but
yeah,
things happened.
The eve of the 2021 final, I've certainly mentioned it on the stream before. I don't know who to. Either the 2021 men's final, I think I said Medvedev 4 or 5 slams, something like that.
I think I probably am on record somewhere saying something like 8 even.
Oh, wow.
Let's say 3 US Opens, 3 Australians, and 2 Wimbledons, for example. Like, that felt very
2
realistic.
Wimbledons.
Yeah.
2 Wimbledons.
Yeah. I mean, why not? Medvedev has a great grass court game. I mean, that he's had some.
You're going down that alleyway again, are you?
Yeah, obviously. I mean, he's getting super flat and likes to bother the opponents that way. I think he's got a great serve, obviously. Going sort of up the rankings. He had a lot of wonderful performances on grass against Dimitrov in Eastbourne 2017. I remember this match that he lost.
Played well against Dimitrov in Eastbourne. Yeah, you're going to win 2 Wimbledons.
No, but it was 2017. It was just when he was still sort of getting there, and it was clear that he's simply underrated on grass courts. He beat Wawrinka that year at Wimbledon as well, I believe. And then against Goffin in 2019, he had a very nice showing. But of course, 2020, that Wimbledon, he never got to play, as no one did. But as we said many times, this actually only sort of widened the gap between the veterans on grass and the guys coming up. That they didn't have that Wimbledon edition in 2020, that they didn't have that grass swing in 2020. So, I mean, I think 2 is quite unrealistic at the moment, mostly as Alcaraz has arrived on grass. But Medvedev will be one of the main contenders for Wimbledon. It's just that Alcaraz has arrived, and then that's a problem. But of course, at the time when I said that, that wasn't really a thing yet. Or at least we didn't know that Alcaraz on grass was going to be so good this early. And also, if he wins the Australian Open against Nadal, he would be so much like, the path would have been so much clearer. Maybe he gets one from since then also. But now, of course, it does look somewhat unrealistic. Also, we weren't expecting Djokovic to still be winning 3 and making the 4th final in 2023, right? Like, when I said it, Djokovic was probably expected to be like out of the picture by 23, at least when it comes to winning slams, which would really open up the doors for Medvedev. I mean, he probably claims the US Open, right? Does he claim Australia? Probably not if he's in that slump as well. But yeah, the US Open would have been his.
Barbora gets a break back.
I wasn't watching before joining, so I'm just seeing like the first few balls. Really, there was a highlight reel during the changeover, and there was a nice pointer from Krejčíková, and she like moonballed Sabalenka to the backhand, and then instantly goes cross with the forehand for a winner. Like that's like I guess a perfect example of what she wants to do: break up the rhythm and then lock up her own opportunity to attack. But do you also like are you also like in that position where you pretty much haven't watched Sabalenka all tournament? I mean, there weren't many opportunities to like. No one would tune into her matches against Surenko or Zaida because that made no sense. I watched her against Brenda, but that was again like an hour, and I should have watched against Anisimova, but I only saw a few points.
No, I think this is the first time I'm watching her.
Yeah, so me too. Like I've barely watched her. I just know that she's been well. Everyone says that she's playing well, and I did watch that match against Fruhvirtova, which like there was no chance for Brenda there absolutely, which we expected as well.
I don't know if I've seen much of Goff until today either.
I watched Goff against Frank and against Parks. I didn't watch her in the first 2 rounds.
Hey, Alfredo. Alfredo, if you haven't already done so, do hit subscribe. But you may well have done so, and if so, I apologize. Krejčíková hit 15-30 on her serve.
By the way, it was also reported, I don't know if you saw it in the meantime, that the ladies here, so Krejčíková and Sabalenka, were asked if they wanted to play on another court. And of course they said no.
Yeah,
which
that's
from their position is pretty obvious because they are actually the first match on here.
Go on first, yeah.
Yeah, like why would they want to do that? If Rublev Sinner were first and then they were asked, maybe.
Yeah, of course,
that's possible.
Yeah. There'll be a little bit of a reaction to that, I think.
In regards to
I'm guessing that Sinner and Rublev haven't been asked. And won't be
I doubt it because it's a longer match. They don't want to leave just one women's match on Rod Laver, right? To anger all the ticket holders. So I think they're going to stick with this, which felt pretty obvious to me that they could stick with it. But yeah, I guess that was also a plan that maybe the women could be moved. But yeah, they said no, and they were right to do it, I guess.
Just why didn't they just start at midday or even 11 o'clock?
Yeah, it's stupid. Tomorrow they are sort of...
You know, that this is not me with a European bias because I'm also thinking the Americas here as well, and Taylor Fitz playing. And...
No, for me, it was actually better, like that they started 1 hour later. I had
right,
1 more hour of sleep.
Yeah.
But
so
yeah,
I
literally slept just before the play started, so I had 1 more hour sleep. But yeah,
I'm thinking, oh, it's a moonball.
Yeah, but
it goes long.
John having a fun time watching this match, apparently. Moonballs that fall out. You should find yourself a true moonballer and start following her. There's this Polish girl, Ada Pieszczyńska. She moonballs every shot, literally. She won the under 18 national championships, I think, in Poland, but she has 0 prospects in the pros, I think. I mean, she's been winning some qualifying matches, etc., but above a certain level, it's impossible to beat someone with that game. You can definitely get to I don't know, 300, 400, I think, but after that, there's just going to be too many women who will just blast through it, especially if you do it on every shot and you give them so much time to adjust. I have a good feeling about getting both semis.
Little moments.
Ooh, the 8 a.m. rush hour. Not yet, but soon. I really have a good feeling about getting both these high-profile semis that we were sort of expecting, that Sabalenka Goff will happen, and also Sinner Djokovic. It's not particularly bold prediction now, given that we've had 2 matches and in the third, the favorite is also leading, but it's all looking good for these semis, let's say that. So Brad Gilbert is watching the match as well.
Gene is changing his mind. I can't
But,
believe you went for Goff anyway.
ooh. Yeah, I mean, the only real argument I think that exists there is that recent slam semis finals for Sabalenka have been really shaky. That, of course, does not include the 2023 Australian Open. However, since then, you've got Muchova, big choke, Jabber, little choke, let's call it. And then the US Open, of course, there's that comeback against Keys, which might seem like a very strong mental effort, but like that's why she was in that situation in the first place, that she didn't deliver again in another slam semi. And then, of course, the final against Goff, where she blasts her off the court in the first set, has a couple of breakpoints, first game of the second set, and then it falls apart. And I know that Goff was pretty phenomenal, and like that sort of speed tracking down the Sabalenka winners smashes, like I've never really seen it in the women's game, honestly, to this extent. But still, like it required a bit of a Sabalenka letdown at the beginning of the second set for this to be a match, and then she gets tied. So basically, what I'm trying to say is that in most recent high-profile matches at the slams, she actually has been pretty off. So I guess that's the only real argument. Like game-wise, tennis-wise, it still doesn't make sense, just like it didn't at the US Open. But who knows? Maybe she can actually exceed expectations again, Goff. And I do think that she will play much better than against Kostyuk. I just realized also, showering 20 minutes ago, that we have a very high chance of Kostyuk Goff happening again in the final. Like literally the same match. If there's a weaker top half finalist who won't deliver, and then it becomes like a bit of a mess. I mean, Kostyuk, I can't say she didn't deliver. I mean, she was pretty good in patches, but of course, as a whole,
she can play better.
She can play more focused. She can play more consistent, but she was still playing like, to her standard from the rest of the event. I think it's just that she was like all over the place, maybe up and down. But she had patches or like some rallies that were synonymous with peak Kostyuk to me. Just laughing at the phrasing of that sentence.
What was I going to say? Yes, so I want to say this Sabalenka semi-final thing. I think it might be a bit of a myth, but
why?
Because I think if you look at the Muchova match, some people, I don't necessarily subscribe to this. Some people praise Muchova for the way she performed in the last 4 or 5 games there. I think Aryna may have lost a bit of focus. There's a chance of that she lost a bit of focus at the second break that she had. She was a double breakup, wasn't she, against Muchova?
She was 5-2 up, but was it double break? I'm not even sure. She was definitely 5-2 up. I don't think would it be a double break, really?
I thought it was, but maybe it was a single and a serve.
I'll check it.
And so there's 2 reasons for having a focus issue, okay? One is complacency, and one is anxiety, okay? You can lose that focus because you start daydreaming because you think the match is done. And then once you realize that it's not done and you've lost the momentum and you now feel the anxiety because you've actually switched off a little bit and you can't believe you've been so stupid to do so. I don't know where it falls on that pendulum. It might have just been 1 point that she just lost a bit of focus on. It might have been 2 or 3, and that was enough to give Muchova the encouragement to get back into the match. But anyway, even if you go on for a full-on choke, which is fine, I think losing to Swiatek in a semi-final. Who did she lose to in 2021 at Wimbledon in the semi-final?
Pliskova.
Krejčíková.
But I'm not saying this has been. I'm not saying this has existed always. Like as I said, the Australian Open 2023 doesn't include things like that. Like she was excellent at every stage of the event. However, I'm just saying that the last 3 slams, that has been the case for her.
And the last 4 slams, she's won 2 of them. So that's not too bad if you've got
but the match against Keys, I mean.
Yeah, but she was the solid one in the end.
Yeah, but she's the one who comes out and loses the first set with a bagel, She was not...
And then wins the next 2 7-6, I think, wasn't it? 7-6, 7-6.
Yes, maybe? Yes. So like this was why she fell in trouble in the first place. Which I guess we might see a pretty similar match to the US Open, actually. Like Sabalenka just has all that. Well, if she wins, of course, because she still hasn't done that. But like Sabalenka comes out just with so much momentum from the previous rounds. She blasts her off the court in the first set, and then it's kind of like how much pressure can Goff actually put on her, and can she do enough in order for these Grand Slam woes to start showing up again? And but yeah, similarly as I thought the US Open, like the quality of tennis doesn't really stack up to me. Like it's just pretty lopsided, even, I would say. And especially maybe in the Melbourne conditions, and also the lack of the American crowd that was there at the US Open.
Yeah, I also think that when you start looking at scales and stuff and numbers, and we look at the number of quarterfinals that Pegula is, just the raw statistic, okay? And of course, you looked at the Rublev one very well the other day, and so well that I cut it into a separate video. I think if we look at the raw stats for these players, 0 and 9 for Rublev, I think it is right now, and of course it may soon be 0 and 10. Pegula, I think, is 0 and 8 maybe in quarterfinals. Sabalenka at the moment is 2 from 7 in semifinals. Is that right? 2 wins, 5 losses, maybe. And she might soon be 3 from 8. If you like, in a couple of days, and she might well be a double Grand Slam winner. So, 2 Grand Slam wins from 3 finals, and 3 Grand Slam semi-final wins from 8. It's just a normal kind of stat, if you like. It's just normal.
Yeah, but again, I'm not talking about her whole career. I'm talking about the last 3.
People do still. People go, Sabalenka chokes every semi-final, well, she's won 2.
She does the last 3 events, really. I mean, almost against Keys, I suppose. Yeah, almost, but it still wasn't like a strong performance compared to what she was showing for the most part throughout that event. So, but then she, of course, also has the final, which, it doesn't really matter that she wins against Keys, but she also has a somewhat subpar mental performance in the final. I don't know. I wanna, but you inspired me to check who Pegula has been losing to in the quarters. But I think in her case, it's like worse than Rublev, right? Even though there's less of them, she actually had winning chances. Obviously, yeah, Vondrousova being
4-1 up. I think 4-1, love 30, but then the rain comes down and the roof gets closed.
It's just 6 actually. But yeah, 2 against Iga. We're not gonna complain about that, right? 1 against Barty, Australian Open. Yeah, no. Azarenka, yeah. She did play very poorly, right, against Azarenka.
Yeah, I think
it was like windy or something. Yeah, I mean, there were some circumstances, basically. And then also against Jen Brady in 2021 here as well in Melbourne, where she won the first set, but then got crushed in the other 2. So I think for Pegula, you have to consider Brady and Azarenka winnable for her. But at the same time, it's not like she has to do it, not at all. And basically, it's just the Vondrousova match where she gets that choke. But so I would also have an issue with saying that Pegula has a quarterfinal problem. Like she just has an issue with the quality of the opposition that she met in these quarterfinals. For the most part, of course, she just had one choke really, and Rublev to me has had none. I don't really think it's controversial either. Like Cilic, okay, maybe we can start talking about that, but otherwise.
Tiafoe didn't really show up, did he?
Yeah, but it's 3 sets against Tiafoe, who was playing like the best tournament of his life. Like he was actually outplayed from start to finish in that match. Whether maybe he would have played better if it wasn't a Grand Slam quarterfinal, who knows? But But given that it was Tiafoe's, like, Tiafoe was actually so close to getting to the final as well, right? So,
by the way,
and beating Alcaraz. So
with Rublev, you're not going to appease his fans with either argument, but I would argue it has to be one or the other. You're not going to appease them if you say he chokes in all the quarterfinals, or that he's getting outplayed in all the quarterfinals because he's just not good enough. But it really has to be one or the other. Either he's better than his opponents and he's not managing the occasion, or he's just not as good as they are. Or on the odd occasion, as you might have mentioned with Cilic or Tiafoe, he's just not playing as well as his opponent.
That's true, but both are pretty negative. I will, however, say, and this is a positive to Rublev and his fans, that basically he's also, well, this isn't a positive, but he has been unlucky as well. Because I know that even at a Grand Slam quarterfinal, like most of the time you're going to meet players like that. But then again, you think of someone like Khachanov, who has 2 semifinals, right? And who did he play in the quarters? Kyrgios at the US Open, and also injured Korda at the Australian Open, right? You think of Shapovalov, who has 1 semifinal, and he plays Khachanov in that quarterfinal. Like literally, Rublev has never played a Khachanov in the quarterfinal. Or someone along that level. So he hasn't never played, I don't know, Casper Ruud in the quarterfinals, for example, who I think outside Roland Garros obviously would be the favorite against. Roland Garros, maybe it's close. So and Casper Ruud also has made 3 Grand Slam finals, so like he shows up at that stage, but he never got into the same
baby Holger
quarter
Rune
as Rublev.
He's playing a starstruck Holger Rune in 2022. He's playing an absolutely whacked out Holger Rune in 2023.
And the US, I guess, was it that amazing match that he had against Berrettini in the quarters?
Yeah, that one surprised me, but I didn't watch it.
He deserves credit for that. For that. But so Rublev has been pretty unlucky to, in 10 slam matches, only really get an opportunity against Tiafoe at Cilic, and sort of run into a peak performance of Tiafoe, like really, really peak performance. Cilic, it's a bit of a different beast. Of course, Marin, like at his highest quality, he's probably a better player as well. But of course, in 2022, that doesn't have to happen. And in fact, that was, of course, the best chance that Andre had. The 5th set tiebreak wasn't close, though, and I think it was still one of the most ridiculous individual performances in 10-point tiebreaks that we have seen so far. And that's the break as well.
Sabalenka gets the break, as Terry says. Yes, indeed. Yeah.
Krejčíková can't quite control that half volley plus 1 forehand, so... ...44 minutes, and she's like sprinting I would like another round,
Yeah, I would like a couple. I'd like a couple of straight sets wins for Sinner, and I'm no last ball today, by the way. I don't know why I even set it up. I'd forgotten that we were at the quarterfinal stage, I think, when I did it.
Yeah, makes sense not to do it. There wouldn't be that much to talk about anyway.
If we were overstaffed and not 4 matches back to the back, then I might have considered like having a good 20-minute
also
chat
with
at the end
like
of the match.
Different people, right? Where
exactly
on the streams, and then you
exactly.
Then you give someone else the chance to talk about them, and then it's like a fresh perspective.
If Matthew had done the first stream and some other people had done the second, and then you and Mario did the third or something, and then whatever, or you and Vanch, and then that would have been cooler.
Yeah, you get like a fresh perspective, and instead, if we did last ball drop today, it would have to be probably me and you, and we just talk about say the same as during the watch-alongs. So.
Yeah, if it would take me hours, but if I could just snip and cut the previous 4 streams, there would be a review of all the matches from today in one way or another.
Yeah, but there's just finding the right parts.
It would take me hours, and I don't want to live through Coco Gauff, Marta Kostyuk anymore.
Craig Shapiro was tweeting a lot about that match, and I actually a lot. He tweeted something about that match, and I was like, I found this comment a little weird as well, because he said that basically he can't bear to watch, and that this is embarrassing for Kostyuk that she's getting such specific coaching advice, but at the same time she's like just choking out of her mind. And I found it like a little meme in that no one is forcing you to sit through this, right? Like if you don't want to watch it, don't watch it. And that he cannot bear to witness another set, basically.
I also have another issue that was going on. I was so hungry from probably the end of the first set. So you can imagine how I was feeling when it was just going on and on and on.
Yeah, that's why I came
cooking my dinner through the third set.
Oh, during the third set, okay.
Yeah, I cooked it.
That's
I
why
basically had it done, and of course, Coco was about to bagel her, and it was like, okay, let's. Coco was about to bagel her at 5 love, but she couldn't serve it out, and it's like, oh my god.
Yeah. I think that's when I entered the stream, on YouTube, and I remember you saying something about the dinner. Yeah. That's why I was actually late.
I should have done a poll actually. I should have done a poll. What was uglier, watching me eat spaghetti for the last few games or the match itself?
Yeah, that's why I was late for this one a little bit, because I just decided I have to eat before we start watching something again. My stomach was like acting up.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at this.
And then, of course, I probably ate too much and too quickly, and it was packed.
I'm just looking at the Sabalenka previous rounds, and it was 53 minutes against Zajdel, 67 against Frogvirtova, 52 against Surenko, 70 against Anisimova, and now it's 40. It's been 48 against Krejčíková. So if she keeps going like this, she's actually likely to not even get to that 70-minute mark. But of course, it's still quite far away from that. Oh, and like a double specialist like Krejčíková should not be missing a volley like this.
There's just sort of two possibilities in terms of the fact you might say not quite battle hardened enough for someone who's now going to play a semi-final, but of course freshness will be valuable for her. But I think Coco is A, young, B, fit, and C, got 48 hours. So if Coco plays 3 hours and it's like the night before, and then she's on court again 24 hours later, yeah. And Coco's had a fairly nice run until today.
Yeah, until today. Sean also said that they should have played the Sinner match yesterday, that we were right on talking tennis with scheduling.
Oh, I saw that was fun. Yeah.
I don't know if we said from that point onwards, because Marcus said that who did Aryna choke against the previous times. So I don't know if we said it from that, like maybe we were talking about it earlier, but we were thinking of Muchova, Jabber, and Keys, and then Goff. So Keys, of course, she won that match, but still had a pretty suspect mental performance. Let's just call it like that. That's what we were thinking of anyway. But yeah, someone already told you that the winner of this is also playing Goff. The other half, of course, has Noshkova-Yastremska and Zhenkalinskaya. So it might be that the Sabalenka Goff is a bit of a virtual final, but
yeah. So we've got Yastremska, Kalinskaya, and no. Kirmanzhenko,
Noshkova-Yastremska and Zhenkalinskaya. Yes.
Yeah,
exactly. This isn't looking too good for Barbora Krejčíková again.
Semi-final. No.
Her volleying is also all over the place whenever she tries to attack the net here. So that kind of takes a lot of arguments out of her skill set as well.
Could be 6-1 within a few minutes.
being battle tested, I think, kind of helps. But is it a huge deal? Probably not. But it might help to like just loosen up a little bit. Which again we'll get to see in the semis if Sabalenka makes it, like how much pressure Goff can again put on her.
I think that maybe if Sabalenka does get this done in straights, and I think it's looking like it right now, the battle tested thing, what will be a little bit battle tested is I think she's had a couple of challenges, maybe less so today, but Anisimova, I was a bit worried for her in terms of maybe dropping a set and given their head-to-head. Krejčíková on her day should pose more questions than she has. But what can you do if you're Sabalenka? I mean, you just do what you can.
You're not gonna give them chances to beat you, in order to be battle tested.
There's an argument I don't necessarily buy, right? Yes, I know. There's an argument about him in Serbia. Yeah, there's an argument against him in Serbia a couple of years ago when he was dropping the first set against everyone that he was doing it, but I don't buy it. But
yeah, there's this guy.
Great points now for Aryna.
There's this guy who travels to all the Polish events, and I talk with him a lot. He is also an enjoyer of lower tier tennis, and well, most of the time we get along well, even though he's definitely older than you. And we basically, there's one or two things that he says that are very controversial. And one of them is that, of course, fixing is very prevalent in tennis, which, I kind of agree with. But then he says, like, look at Djokovic. He drops the first set and then he wins, and like he does it all the time. And yeah, I mean, when he says that, I just say, okay, so stop it. We have to agree to disagree here, because like Djokovic as a person with basically more money that you can ever really use, you can ever really spend, why would he be fixing matches? And I don't know, that's just impossible to me. And that's something
there's
that
not
we can't
enough
agree
money
on.
There's not enough money out there to persuade him, and even if there was, I still don't think it would be enough.
There's just no point.
I get it,
like, why would you risk everything in order to get
your entire career
so little?
Yeah. It'd be done. Because the chances of getting found out are far too great. I mean, you might get away with it, but even if you said it's a 1 in 10 chance that he'd get caught, it's still not good enough.
So basically,
and I think there's a lot bigger chance than that, because just numbers of people.
Whenever we start that topic, I just look at him as a conspiracy theorist and like, what? Are you seriously telling me this? He also has a few like this with doping.
Yeah. Yeah, often I find that once someone believes in one maybe slightly exaggerated theory, there's a few others soon that follow up.
It's funny, but also
I'm extremely skeptical. Yeah, I'm extremely skeptical of people that take the star signs seriously, for example.
What were we talking about, Gene? Basically, this friend of mine who is was trying to convince me that Djokovic is fixing sets, like he's selling a set in order to win later. Obviously my reaction to that was like, what are you talking about? I mean, he's too rich to even consider something like this. The risk is far greater than the gain. But yeah. And John's very right that this guy
I don't buy
it's stuff like that.
I don't buy the fact that he was pushing himself intentionally in Serbia, but I'm far more ready to accept that than other theories. Are
you talking about that Belgrade event where he lost to Rublev in the final, or?
Yeah, he kept losing the first. Yeah, exactly.
I think the final perfectly showed you why that's not true. I think the final perfectly showed you why that's not true, because he actually wasn't ready to be so physical the whole week. Like he actually lost with a bagel, right, in the third set against Rublev.
Third set, right?
Yeah, So he actually wasn't ready for that physically. So that's pretty much the best proof that you can get that he wasn't losing sets intentionally for financial or for form gain. Yeah, I agree, Gene. It's a very weird statement, and I have like mixed feelings towards that person because of it. Since on sort of just strictly tennis terms, we do get along very well, but some of his claims are not. I wouldn't necessarily like to be maybe associated with a person who says things like that. But thankfully, he has no social media presence. So.
Talking of which, Craig Shapiro didn't have any social media presence for a short while, but he's back.
Craig Shapiro is unfloatable. Unsinkable. Yeah. What did I say? Oh, I said the opposite of unsinkable, literally.
Unsinkable, yeah, unsinkable. I see, yeah.
I
didn't get what you meant with unfloatable.
Literally the opposite, yeah.
Yeah, it is.
You didn't get what I meant, but you still chuckled. It's like this polite chuckle.
I actually can't. The unfloatable comment, I just sort of, I wasn't sure what you were talking about. But then I guess he's not. I guess he is unfloatable. I don't know. I mean,
well, he's like unsinkable. I guess
unsinkable in Twitter terms, yeah, but maybe in literal terms, I don't know. I'm not going down that road.
Jesus. Okay. Yeah. Let's not do that. But yeah, Krejčíková Sabalenka.
Yes.
Let's
double break, but
a bit happening. Yeah.
A bit like the first set. I think she was a double break up and then lost a break, and then finally
she lost one. Yeah. That's true.
And she's loved 30.
And with the smash, she loses it as well again. But I guess this is a part of her game that she will need to work on ahead of the golf match as well. A few of these smashes also, I'm thinking of the smashes and just the sort of shots that Goff will be forcing out of her with the scrambling.
John doesn't listen to you. I agree, Jane. Jane's pleased that we're going to be doing Sinner Rublev.
John doesn't listen to me.
She might not be so pleased if it's like 2 sets and a break for Sinner at some point.
I think we might be having some issues, like again with the sync, because when I say something, I'd like have to wait like 5 seconds for your response. So.
It's my internet. I might just log out and then log back in again.
Try. I don't know if it will work, but you can try. In the meantime, Sabalenka looking for that break again, so sort of follow a similar pattern as the opening set, where she was also double break up, lost one, but then quickly regained it. We'll see if she can follow it up here as well, in the same sort of vein. Slicing rally, but actually Krejčíková chooses to switch to topspin, and it was like a pretty late switch too. You could see her hesitating a little bit, first setting up for the slice, then changing the grip, and then she misses that backhand down the line. I think Krejčíková has in general like played pretty. She can't quite compile a few good points together, I would say. Like she's actually just sort of all over the place. Part of that is probably how well Aryna is playing, but like even when Krejčíková gets a chance finally, even when there's a point, a game that she can actually control or like, just have some sort of degree of comfort in this match, she quickly manages to throw it away, even with these missed volleys. I think it's just been very hard for her to like concentrate and play with discipline. Which again, probably some of that is the pressure coming off the opponent, but it's just been a little like all over the place. Now she does win a point though, but it's still 15-30. But a big serve at the body, and Sabalenka can't quite produce the backhand return. And Krejčíková gets the next point too. Finally, a pretty deep shot again. Sabalenka tries to go big on the counter. Not quite enough time to make it. John has disappeared, and it's actually been a while since he dropped off the stream. But hopefully he'll be back. As we have established during the week, this is actually where his internet is at his weakest. This is about 8 a.m. Rio de Janeiro time, 8:12, 8:13. And we've seen this already this week, that this is when his internet connection tends to struggle, which is kind of interesting, I guess. Usually, I would say rush hour. Well, it depends who is using that certain network, but I think usually internet rush hour is like in the evenings if it's people at home, but maybe his Wi-Fi is also used by some companies or something. In which case, of course, this is a Tuesday morning in Rio. So definitely a work day. Although some would think that maybe in Rio, people just dance on the streets all day, and regardless of the holiday, the festivities always include some carnival. But that's only, I guess, if you, like me, don't know much about Rio de Janeiro. Oh, and John Silk is back. I was just explaining your internet rush hour, 8 a.m.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it hasn't been too bad, actually, until now.
But yeah, she was love 40. I love 30 down, Krejčíková, but she actually ended up holding. I don't know how much of that you were able to see, but
0. But that sounds like a big hold in a way, just because it just means there's a bit of pressure on Aryna now.
yeah, I mean, it doesn't mean all that much, but yeah, at least it keeps the match pretty close. Like, it does keep Sabalenka honest, even if that's what we're looking for. So, but yeah, this has definitely been the least competitive match today. I wanted to say the worst match today so far. That kind of I still enjoyed Kostyuk more. This has been fine too. It's just lopsided so far, but maybe we can get some fireworks in the last few games here.
Double fault, 15 all. Quality, though, in the Kostyuk. I mean, what was it? At one point, something like 9 winners and 40-odd errors from Coco.
Yeah, Coco only hit like maybe even not double-digit winners, I think.
I think in the end she must have done.
Yeah, in the first
like,
sets she didn't have.
It was about 9, like 1 all in the third.
Eventually, it ended up being like 3 times as many unforced errors as winners, whereas in the first set, I think she was on 524, so basically 5 times. So she must have added a little bit to the count. But I remember thinking, like, going into the second set tiebreak, that if someone was to produce a golf highlight reel from this match, it would be hard to find any points, really. Kostyuk had a lot of them. And I know some of that is playstyle difference as well. But, like, yeah. Until a certain moment, it was hard to pinpoint a point that Coco would pinpoint a rally, let's say, that or a shot that Coco like really impressed with. However, of course, as the match went on, that kind of changed.
That 15-30 point was big for Aryna. And you could see it
Oh,
from
yeah.
her relation that she knew that was important. Because if she misses that and she goes 15-40, and then suddenly we might be visiting Chokesville. This kind of feels a bit like a semi-final, with the Coco match being the final. There'll still be a job to be done in the final, but
I think especially Sabalenka would probably win the final. She seems to have pretty decent matchups against like other power hitters. And that's really all you get in that in that top half as well. Also, yeah, I guess there's just less space for someone who's playing well like Zheng or Kalinskaya to beat her than Goff, who kind of leaves the door open for you to attack more. But also, I guess, yeah, Goff just with that very high floor, doing all the basics right, really. Besides the forehand, of course.
Yastremska Goff feels a bit like Kostyuk Goff in a way.
Yeah, and all of these matchups that really can do if Goff makes the final. Like we might see a bit of a repeat of the Kostyuk match from today if Goff makes the final.
I think in the final I would find it more entertaining because the tension and the drama and the anxiety.
I did find it entertaining today. Actually.
Yeah, I know you did. Yeah. Maybe if I was just watching it in the stadium, I might have enjoyed it more. (3-5), huge hold there for Sabalenka, and she may even get the job done here on Barbora's serve. It's all about the return. Hour and 8 minutes on the clock, so it looks like we are going to reach 70 minutes. There's another insect, is it? I think she's trapped it under the racket. So many of them this year, it seems more than ever. Craig Tiley out because of all these insects.
How did he not insect-proof the Australian Open?
That return stance from Aryna. It's funny how so many players have such unique stances. I mean, I find Iga's quite cute as well and interesting. That sort of little bounce from side to side, just very tiny. Ball bashing. I like it though from Aryna. I mean, when it's got such accuracy and venom.
She is a ball basher, yeah. She's not too, or I don't want to say she's not too smart. That's actually not what I'm trying to say. But in terms of like what she's doing on the court, she kind of isn't. But yeah, she has different strengths that she actually does very well to sort of emphasize and point out.
3 back points.
Arsenal.
Oh, wow. Oh, a bit lucky. Aryna there with the net cord. Barbora just sort of pulls a kind of face to say, well, there we go. I was way off it today. Different circumstances, different location, maybe different way, then maybe that could have been more competitive. Maybe the Roland Garros clay courts might have favoured Barbora a bit more. But anyway, Sabalenka continues, yet to drop a set. I'm going to say that she's the only player on the women's side that's not to drop a set. And I guess the only other player on the men's side is Jannik Sinner. Is that right?
Yeah. It's been only Sinner for a while on the men's, whereas on the women's, let me think about it actually. Noskova dropped one. Yastremska definitely dropped one in the major as well. Who else do we have? Kinven dropped one. And Kalinskaya against Stevens, she dropped one. So, yeah, that's true. Did it kick you out or something? No, you're still there. Okay, never mind. Because maybe you have some issues with the mic now. Because it wasn't like mid-sentence, but suddenly there was a big pause. Yeah, now I can hear you.
Okay. What is that? It must be.
He was serving well. He was staying close.
Okay. Sabalenka's having a quick chat now.
I just really love this race. Yeah, I think it was a really great match today. I think I played really great tennis, and I really hope that I can just keep playing that way or even better, as I always say. And of course, guys, thank you so much for the atmosphere. I know you. I know all of you are waiting the next match, but still, thank you so much for the atmosphere. I really enjoyed it. It's reminded me of the final, the atmosphere on the final last year. So thank you so much. I really enjoyed playing in front of you all.
That actually leads me into the next question. I know you love Australia, you love to play in Melbourne, Rod Laver Arena, you love Australians and the crowd, but come on, give me something else. Why are you playing so well here? There has to be something else.
I don't know, maybe because I have so many Australians in my team. No, I mean, it's all because of you guys, because of the atmosphere.
I mean, court speeds must have a play, must play a role, and
I mean, to be fair, Sabalenka over the last year or so, she's done well in any conditions. But
yeah, I mean, final of Indian Wells, semi-final as well on Garros, and we said really it should have been a final. Madrid, yeah. I think she's the all-court scenario. Gives her something that even Iga can't maybe compete with in terms of she's a threat at Wimbledon. She's a threat at every single tournament. That doesn't mean she's the world number one, the best player on tour, the best player in the world, the best player over the last 12 months. As I think we kind of all put a lid on that debate at the WTA finals by going, yep, it's Iga's year. But she's a threat at every single tournament she plays, which tells you that she's pretty good on all surfaces. But there are surfaces and tournaments where she's an even bigger threat, and Madrid being one of them. Of all the clay court tournaments, it's Madrid where she's most likely to win most titles, I would suggest. And across all the hard courts, maybe Australia will be the one where we look back and go, yeah, this is where she always excels. And then there's the final thing, the psychological aspect of just returning to an arena that you've had success on before. I do think that plays a very small role, but it's probably less significant than the conditions out there. Well, anyway, Aryna Sabalenka's got this done, 6-2, 6-3, pretty quickly, and we can move on to the final match of the day between Jannik Sinner and Andre Rublev. And let's see if the predictions of doom for Andre Rublev come to fruition, or he makes it an incredibly tight match and ends up prevailing in 5 sets. And I have no problem with him winning in 5 sets, but then don't just put in a performance like he did in the quarterfinal against Novak last year.
Yeah, it might be an issue if he pulls it off, because against the Minor it was such a blow for blow battle. I guess it's 2 days to rest, but If he goes 5 again and it's so intense again, and I think if he wants to win against Sinner today, it's going to be another, just blow for blow battle, toe to toe, trading all the time. The intensity might be a bit too much going forwards, but we'll see. Krejčíková, thank you for your contributions to this event. I think you went as far as you could have. No, like she actually didn't play too well today. I have to admit. Even when she got some chances finally, she was like a little all over the place, a little tense, and missing the opportunities that she actually created for herself. But rough. Longest match of the event for Aryna anyway. So.
Oh wow! Okay, yeah, beyond 70 minutes.
71 minutes. Yeah, 71 minutes.
Yeah. Okay, everyone in the live chat. Rublev is sturdy. Always played. He's always played a lot.
Yeah. He plays every week, but like if he has over 4 hours against the minor, and remember that he was cramping there at the end, right? He starts cramping like 3-0 or 4-0 in the 5th. So if if the match isn't at that point basically done, it's possible he loses because of that. So if he plays 4 or 5 hours again, that could actually impact his performance against Djokovic. And of course, it's not like he has a good matchup against Djokovic in the first place.
Indeed. And there's one vote right now in this poll. So Rublev fans, if you really do want to change the poll at the very least, which of course will have no influence on the match.
Stop the count.
Well, stop the back count for Sinner, but there's only one vote in the moment for Sinner. But yeah, if Jane can put a vote in for Rublev and get someone else out there and then stop the count, indeed, that would help Rublev win that poll, but it might not help him win the match. Right, let's call this an event, and we'll see each other again shortly for the last match of the day's quarterfinal matches. Okay, cool. Speak to you soon. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis. There are the mental side of tennis, from my perspective as a fan, if you like. The two things that strike me in tennis compared to lots of other sports that I think make it a big mental challenge is, first of all, it's an individual sport, but secondly, so there's nowhere to hide. Like in football, in a team sport, you can just give the ball to another teammate and you cannot call for it, if you like, but there's nowhere to hide. The other thing as well in tennis is again, in something like football, you can be really nervous, but you can get a bit lucky. And of course, that can be the case in tennis. But basically, your body could be shaking when you're about to take a penalty, okay? And you can still score because you can just put your foot through it, right? You just hit it as hard as you can. And actually, probably you will still score because of the odds on that. Yeah. But there's that in a sport such as darts, snooker, tennis, where you need to be pretty calm and you need to have a pretty steady hand. There's just nowhere to hide. Is there anything I'm missing, or am I underplaying something, or even overplaying?
No. I think you're 100% correct. I think the real tough thing about these sports and tennis in particular, because of how physical it is as well, is the relentlessness of point after point. And if you're nervous, you have to fight through those nerves sometimes for an hour. And they might disappear for a while, but then suddenly, you're 5-all and it's tight again, and you're feeling very tight, and you have to manage it over and over again. And I think the best players in the world just use their tools and remember to use their tools in big moments. Because once you get to pro level, it's not like any player doesn't kind of know what they have to do, but it's in the heat of that moment that they either don't remember because the brain is frying a little bit, or they don't have the courage to use them. Yeah. So for us sitting there, I remember when Roger Federer had 2 match points against Novak at Wimbledon serving. Yeah. You're thinking serve and volley both. Okay. Yeah, probably Novak's not going to make a great return on both.
Mm-hmm.
Now I don't know what whether what Roger was thinking, or maybe knew something more than I did, but that was my thinking. But he didn't, and they slipped through his hands. Now, to do that though in that moment takes a huge amount of courage.
Yeah.
And first to make the decision, and then secondly to follow through the decision like that. But then you've always got, and this is what's so tough for players. The other thing is, match point, make the person play. Don't serve and give them a quick volley or whatever. And that's another school of thought. But I think deep down, players get to a place where they have an instinct. And I think, I say this over and over again, the best players in the world are the most relaxed and the bravest. Because in those moments, when their instinct is telling them something, they are brave enough to follow it. And which is why, and again, it doesn't guarantee you're going to win, but I do think it starts to push the odds more in your favor. I'll just say one other thing is, I don't know if anybody's ever been go-karting or any kind of motor racing or watches motor racing, but when a driver gets in the groove, they lap like within 0.1 of a second every lap, like in this unbelievable groove. But if they lose that groove, when they're in that groove, it seems so easy. Just do it. It's like no hassle. But if they lose that groove, if they go a little too fast, then they slide out of a corner, they lose time. If they go a little too slow, then that's not effective. And the margins are so small to stay on that groove. And for players as well, when you go into something like the French Open or any tournament, but especially the big ones, you hope that you can get through that first match and find a groove. And if you get in that groove, then that gives you your best chances of winning, because then most stuff is happening automatically, which is the most effective. Everybody has a problem when they start to think on the court, and automatic is fastest and easiest because you know how to do things. And it's not like you don't register. I say when you're playing very well, you are aware of everything, but nothing distracts you. When you start to think, your thoughts start to distract you. And that's very difficult to manage. And if you can learn how to manage that and get yourself back in the groove a little faster than other players, that's obviously, helps with ranking and why certain players, are more consistent than others, because they tend to manage that better. I hope that makes sense anyway.
It does. It definitely does. There were the mental side of tennis, from my perspective as a fan, if you like. The two things that strike me in tennis compared to lots of other sports that I think make it a big mental challenge is, first of all, it's an individual sport. But secondly, so there's nowhere to hide. Like in football, in a team sport, you can just give the ball to another, teammate, and you cannot call for it if you like. But there's nowhere to hide. The other thing as well in tennis is again in something like football, you can be really nervous, but you can get a bit lucky, and of course that can be the case in tennis. But basically, your body could be shaking when you're about to take a penalty, okay, and you can still score because you can just put your foot through it, right? You just hit it as hard as you can. And actually, probably you will still score because of the odds on that.
Yeah.
But there's that in a sport such as darts, snooker, tennis, where you need to be pretty calm and you need to have a pretty steady hand. There's just nowhere to hide. Is there anything I'm missing, or am I underplaying something, or even overplaying?
No. I think you're 100% correct. I think the real tough thing about these sports and tennis in particular, because of how physical it is as well, is the relentlessness of point after point. And if you're nervous, you have to fight through those nerves sometimes for an hour. and they might disappear for a while, but then suddenly, you're 5-all and it's tight again, and you're feeling very tight, and you have to manage it over and over again. And I think, the best players in the world just, use their tools and remember to use their tools in big moments. Because, once you get to pro level, it's not like any player doesn't kind of know what they have to do, but it's in the heat of that moment that they either don't remember because the brain is frying a little bit, or they don't have the courage to use them.
Yeah.
So, for us sitting there, I remember when Roger Federer had 2 match points against Novak at Wimbledon serving.
Yeah.
You're thinking serve and volley both.
Okay.
Yeah, probably Novak's not going to make a great return on both.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know whether what Roger was thinking, or maybe knew something more than I did, but that was my thinking. But he didn't, and they slipped through his hands. Now, to do that though in that moment takes a huge amount of courage.
Yeah. And
first to make the decision, and then secondly to follow through the decision like that. But then you've always got, and this is what's so tough for players, the other thing is, match point, make the person play. Don't serve and give them a quick volley or whatever. And that's another school of thought. But I think deep down, players get to a place where they have an instinct. And I think, I say this over and over again, the best players in the world are the most relaxed and the bravest. Because in those moments, when their instinct is telling them something, they are brave enough to follow it. And which is why, and again, it doesn't guarantee you're going to win, but I do think it starts to push the odds more in your favor. I'll just say one other thing is,
yeah,
I don't know if anybody's ever been go-karting or any kind of motor racing or watches motor racing,
mm-hmm.
but when a driver gets in the groove, they lap like within 0.1 of a second every lap, like in this unbelievable groove.
Mm-hmm.
But if they lose that groove, when they're in that groove, it seems so easy. Just do it. It's like no hassle. But if they lose that groove, if they go a little too fast, then they slide out of a corner, they lose time. If they go a little too slow, then that's not effective. And the margins are so small to stay on that groove. And for players as well, when you go into something like the French Open or any tournament, but especially the big ones, you hope that you can get through that first match and find a groove. And if you get in that groove, then that gives you your best chances of winning, because then most stuff is happening automatically, which is the most effective. Everybody has a problem when they start to think on the court, and automatic is fastest and easiest because you know how to do things. And it's not like you don't register. I say when you're playing very well, you are aware of everything, but nothing distracts you. When you start to think, your thoughts start to distract you. And that's very difficult to manage. And if you can learn how to manage that and get yourself back in the groove a little faster than other players, that's obviously, helps with ranking and why certain players, are more consistent than others, because they tend to manage that better. I hope that makes sense anyway.
It does. It definitely does. With the mental side of tennis, from my perspective as a fan, if you like, the two things that strike me in tennis compared to lots of other sports that I think make it a big mental challenge is, first of all, it's an individual sport, but secondly, so there's nowhere to hide. Like in football, in a
Yeah.
team sport, you can just give the ball to another, teammate, and
Yeah.
you cannot call for it if you like. But there's nowhere to hide. The other thing as well in tennis is again in something like football, you can be really nervous, but you can get a bit lucky. And of course, that can be the case in tennis. But basically, your body could be shaking when you're about to take a penalty, okay? And you can
Yeah.
still score because you can just put your foot through it, right? You
Yeah.
just hit it as hard as you can, and actually, probably you will still score because of the odds on that.
Yeah.
But there's that in a sport such as darts, snooker, tennis, where you need to be pretty calm and you need to have a pretty steady hand. There's just nowhere to hide. Is there anything I'm missing, or am I underplaying something, or even overplaying?
No. I think you're 100% correct. I think the real tough thing about these sports and tennis in particular, because of how physical it is as well, is the relentlessness of point after point. And if you're nervous, you have to fight through those nerves sometimes for an hour. and they might disappear for a while, but then suddenly you're 5-all and it's tight again, and you're feeling very tight, and you have to manage it over and over again. And I think the best players in the world just use their tools and remember to use their tools in big moments. Because once you get to pro level, it's not like any player doesn't kind of know what they have to do, but it's in the heat of that moment that they either don't remember because the brain is frying a little bit, or they don't have the courage to use them.
Yeah.
So for us sitting there,